On a sunny morning at school, a regular-looking boy named Saito strolls through the hallway. Suddenly, he spots a stunning girl named Akane. She grabs Saito by his tie and threatens to erase him from existence if he spills a secret. 4 days ago in Class 3A, Akane could be seen scolding for messing up the class journal. However, Saito, sitting like a chill guy, says he has nothing to pass a comment as he didn't have much to do the day before. Akane goes on to scold him for not erasing the class's blackboard and something about evil spirits. The two start arguing as Saito calls her a drag and suggests reading more books in her free time. However, Akane reveals that she is just trying to fix his rotten character. Talking about characters, suddenly two big characters of a hot blonde Himari appear and bury Akane between her massive talons as she teases them to stop or Saito might cry, but Akane complains that it's Saito's fault as he's a negligent class duty carrier. Himari asks why she only scolds Saito, to which her expressions change and goes on to say that he simply irks her whenever she sees his face and that she wants to smash him, unfortunately, but with a slipper. Suddenly, a really adorable girl with gray hair named Shisei appears. She seems to be quite popular among her friends, and to Saito's surprise, she is actually his cousin. Meanwhile, Himari playfully teases Akane, suggesting that if she keeps bothering Saito, it must mean she has a crush on him. Hearing this makes Akane blush deeply, and she quickly denies the idea, feeling embarrassed. After school, as Saito is heading home, he gets a phone call from his grandfather. His grandfather asks if Saito would like to join him for a cup of tea. Saito declines the invitation, joking that he's not interested in hanging out with old men. He knows that the only way to get his grandson to listen to him is to take more drastic measures like kidnapping Saito to ensure he spends time with him. While being driven, Saito asks the men in suits where they are taking him, but they just say they can't share that information. He then starts talking about how the Hojo group of companies faced a serious crisis in the past. Saito explains that his grandfather, Tenryu, was the one who saved the company from disaster. Despite facing a lot of public criticism, his grandfather made tough decisions like firing unqualified executives and turned the Hojo group into a successful global high-tech business. Later on, Saito can be seen sitting outside a house reading a book when that bratty girl suddenly arrives. Akane asks Saito what he is doing there, to which he reveals that his grandfather called him. Akane also reveals that her grandmother called her to spend some time. Saito tells her to stop talking as he is reading. This embarrasses Akane as she says that she does not want to talk to him. Akane asks him to apologize or she will keep yapping BS forever. As they are arguing, their grandparents arrive and Saito's grandfather tells them to come with him. After that, the four of them enjoy some delicious Japanese food together. Akane and Saito seem to be acting a bit strange as they mention they are celebrating a very eventful day. Akane asks the waiter for another glass of juice and Saito playfully reminds her that she is just drinking juice. She complains that she was really hungry but lost her appetite after seeing a funny-looking face. As usual, Saito and Akane start bickering, which makes their grandparents laugh. They say they are happy to see that the two of them are getting along, but Saito and Akane quickly deny it, feeling a bit embarrassed. Curious about why they were called together, Saito asks the grandparents what is going on. They respond with something about marriage, which completely shocks both Saito and Akane. In surprise, they drop their food, unable to believe what they just heard. The grandparents repeat that they want Saito and Akane to get married. This unexpected news leaves both of them in disbelief, and they can hardly process what their grandparents are suggesting. The grandfather then goes on to yap how he and Chio have known each other for a really long time and had mutual feelings when they were young, but because of not meeting much, they were not able to end up together. The old man reveals that he made her late wife happy, and the granny reveals after the passing of her husband, Saito's grandfather took care of her every night. The grandparents then explain that after living their lives, they want their grandchildren to fulfill their destiny by getting married. Akane quickly refuses, saying that marriage should only happen between people who truly love each other. Saito agrees and reminds them that it's not right to force someone to marry against their will. However, the clever grandfather has a surprise plan just like a superhero. He brings out a dog and says that if Saito doesn't marry Akane, he will give all his money and inheritance to the dog instead. This catches both of them off guard. Meanwhile, Akane's grandmother, Chio, leans in and whispers something to her, making her blush. Later that night, the grandfather gives them a deadline of 3 days to get married and then leaves the room. Saito turns to Akane and asks what her grandmother said to her. She blushes again and tells him not to try to guess her thoughts, insisting that she will make her own choices about her future. Afterward, Akane can be seen lying down with her thick thighs deep in thought as she remembers how Saito takes the first spot in school every time. Akane then picks up Himari's calls and asks what would she do if she is forced to marry someone she does not like by her family, to which she replies that she would turn down the offer as she already has a crush on someone. Listening to this, Akane is shocked and wants to know, but Himari does not tell their secret, indicating that MC might get a harem. Himari then asks if Akane is interested in someone, but she replies that she hates someone extremely and wants a meteor to fall on him. Himari then tells her that it's okay if she marries the person, as everything would be much cheaper since they can split the financial burden, and goes on to tease her over having babies. Meanwhile, Saigo is still shocked that he has to marry Akane of all people. He worries about the constant bickering they would have at home. To get some advice, Saigo talks to his friend Shisei about the unreasonable demand from their grandfather. Shisei then asks Saigo what he really wants, to inherit the company or to be happy. Saigo, feeling confused, replies that he wants both. Shisei gives him a thoughtful answer, saying that it would be selfish to want everything without making a choice. She explains that a person should learn how to follow rules and use them to their advantage instead of just breaking them. Shisei also tells Saito that if he wants to achieve his dreams, he needs the support of his grandfather's company. She reassures him that she will always be there for him, and then she gives him a warm hug, like a comforting Alabama-style embrace. The following day at school, Saito enters his class with Shisei's cuteness being admired by everyone in the class and Akane yapping with Himari. 3 days later, the losers sit in front of their Sigma grandparents. The grandparents ask about their decision, and surprisingly, both of them agree to get married. They get up to leave, thinking of getting married after university, but the old geezers are 2 steps ahead of them, revealing they are getting married now and will be living together in the same house, as their things have already moved in and leave as Akane calls them and not abandon her. After going home, Saito locks the door, which scares Akane as she jumps into another room. Just a moment later, Akane looks around the beautiful house and again starts arguing. Later on, as they stumble upon the only bed in the house, they call their grandparents, who tell them it's forbidden to sleep anywhere else than bed. The pillow of the bed has only yes written on it. Out of nowhere, Akane asks if he will do her until he is satisfied and she won't be able to go to school. Later, as she is moving her stuff upstairs, she suddenly trips and is about to fall, but Saito saves her. At first, she's about to thank him, but like any other brat, she just goes away. As Saito is about to eat, Akane's stomach growls, but she rejects the idea of eating with him as a couple and goes on to say some really unnecessary ecchi stuff. However, Saito just gives her a slice of pizza, which Akane takes away like a stray cat. Later at night, Saito sits down to sleep. That's when Akane arrives blushing and lays down beside him. Saito is blushing as well as he can smell her sweet scent. Akane tells Saito to not do anything lecherous with her since she never had a boyfriend. Saito then asks her why she marries him, but she is not telling him. Saito tries to persuade her, but she does not spill the tea. Akane then clears up, as this marriage is just a formality that she has to fulfill in order to achieve her dream. Saito wonders if they add a condition of having a child. This revelation made both of them shock, and somehow Saito's finger touched Akane's soft peach, unfolding another drama. Back to the present, with Akane holding his tie and threatening to delete him if he tells someone, as it will destroy her social life. Saito tries to assure her that he won't tell anyone about their marriage, but Akane doesn't believe and asks to put a bomb that will explode within a radius of 1 kilometer if he talks about their marriage. After their marriage to each other, Saito and Akane decide to keep it a secret from everyone else in class. Finally coming to terms, they decide to open the door and face the day. Himari is the first to greet them, asking Akane what she and Saito were talking about before entering, but only assumes the two are in their usual competitive arguments, when Akane decides to act as if she just came from scolding Saito. Saito does his best to ignore them as he takes his seat, but gets shocked when Shizi approaches him. Shizi looks at him suspiciously, commenting that he smells like he's been with another girl. She makes a guess that he decided to go through with the marriage with Akane because of all the changes and the fact that their grandfather and the rest of the company were acting strangely the night before. Saito panics that Shizi managed to hit the mark and quickly covers her mouth, carrying her out of the classroom in fear that she will spill their secret to the school. Outside the classroom, Shizi tells him that she has no obligation to keep the marriage between him and Akane a secret, feeling betrayed that Saito didn't bother to tell her anything about his decision despite reassuring him he would support him the night before. Shizi decides that she can use their situation to her advantage by putting up a bribe. However, she realizes she doesn't have anything she really wants for him at the moment, much to Saito's relief. After their physical education class, Saito wants to take some time resting at his desk when he is rudely approached by Akane, who scolds him for leaving the equipment they used out in the gym. Saito argues back that a teacher told him to leave it out since the next class will be using the same equipment, embarrassing Akane, who picked up and stored the equipment for his sake. Their classmates watch in amusement as they continue to bicker, catching their curiosity. Himari decides to tell them that they are popular with the students due to their arguments, since it seems like they bicker like a married couple, causing Akane to loudly deny that they are married. Back at home, Saito is lounging, peacefully reading a book when he hears Akane's shocked voice. He goes to check on her, and she asks him what he bought while gesturing to their fridge filled with vegetable juice. Saito confidently explains that he bought them to get healthy, which causes Akane to worry since juice concentrate does not pack enough nutrition for their daily needs. He also shows her their cupboard filled with cup ramen he bought, which makes Akane horrified over their diets. Saito confidently reassures her that they can get enough protein and the right nutrition thanks to protein drinks and mixing it with vegetable juice, and he offers a glass of it to Akane, who stares at the concoction in fear and disbelief. Feeling that both of them might die due to his eating habits, Akane decides that she'll cook for them and be in charge of meal preparations. She sits him down and decides to start cooking right away, excited for the praise and admiration she'll receive from him once he tastes a proper home-cooked meal. On the other hand, Saito watches her in mild worry that she might be putting poison in his meal to finish him off and gain her freedom from their marriage. Akane presents an amazing assortment of food for dinner, but Saito still remains wary of it and begins to look under some of the dishes to see if she hid nails or explosive powder in them. Unable to see anything wrong with the food, he nervously takes a tentative bite. The sudden taste of a home-cooked meal makes him remember the time his parents left him and how he was taken in by his grandfather, only to experience meals by himself. While it's a normal meal, Saito greatly enjoys it but hides this knowledge from Akane, who is eagerly awaiting his comments. Not getting any praise for the meal she carefully prepared, Akane feels heartbroken and takes the food away from Saito, threatening to give it to the dog outside. However, Saito tries his best to get the food back and hurriedly eats the rest of it, not leaving a single piece of food. He finished fully satisfied with his meal and having a full stomach for the first time since he could remember. Akane, on the other hand, is frustrated that he ate everything without giving her any praise for it. The next day, Akane tries to gently wake Saito up to get ready for school, but Saito dreams it's cheesy and drags her back to bed with him. This puts Akane in an embarrassing position, so she hits him and demands that he get up. Finally, Akane proceeds to scold him for leaving his dishes in the sink and for leaving a mess in the bathroom. He calmly tells her that he'll clean up once the dishes pile up and he can pick up the rubbish once a month as well. This shocks Akane to see how unkempt Saito can be. Saito even questions the need for a bath, which brings Akane to tears knowing that she's sharing a space with someone as untidy as Saito. Saito realizes that they have different values and starts to worry that their marriage might fall apart since they are both unwilling to compromise, but he pushes the thoughts aside on his way to school, reminding himself they are married for their own interests. Deciding to take it easy in the evening, he puts on a zombie-killing game to relax. However, Akane barges in, complaining about the noise, and is baffled to see that he is playing such a horrifying game. She insults his hobby, saying that men who are into violent games are bound to commit crimes, but Saito decides to ignore her, not appreciating that she is generalizing his hobby. Seeing that she is being ignored, she tries to grab the console so the game will stop, but Saito grabs it back, making them get into a comic game of tug-of-war. The fight gets interrupted by the doorbell, causing Akane to let go and answer the door. Saito falls with the console, pulling the wire and shutting the game off, leaving him with unsaved progress. Akane re-enters the room to tell Saito more of his things arrived, but Saito is depressed over the loss of his progress. After putting away his things, he decides to finally take a bath. Ready to enter the tub, he spots Akane with her eyes closed. Seeing that she hasn't noticed him, he backs away and gets ready to leave, but realizes that she might have passed out. He rushes back into the bath area out of worry, but is relieved to see that she is only asleep. He's about to leave, but realizes that she can still drown if she sleeps, so he attempts to wake her by talking to her loudly. Still asleep, Akane insults Saito in her dreams, and Saito briefly considers leaving her. However, he notices Akane slip into the bath water, so he decides to dive in and drag her out of the bath since she refuses to get out. He accidentally slips on the wet floor, causing him to land under Akane in a compromising position. Akane wakes up only to find herself on top of an equally naked Saito. Thinking Saito is taking advantage of her, she screams and begins throwing bath items at him, forcing him out of the room. Saito attempts to explain the situation, but Akane is too mad and embarrassed to hear him out. Later, as Akane dries her hair, she finally calms down from her outburst. She recounts the encounter in the bath again and realizes Saito might have been trying to save her. Feeling guilty, she tries to apologize when she enters their shared room, but Saito remains cold. This causes Akane to tear up, resolving to make things right with him. The next day at school, Himari finds Akane depressed and moping around in her desk. Himari decides to entertain her and offers an ear to Akane, who jumps into her embrace. Akane confides in Himari about her problem, carefully omitting that it involves Saito. She tells Himari that she wants to mend things with someone she considers her enemy. Himari advises her to have an honest talk and try to respect the other person's feelings. Akane feels envious of Himari, claiming the other girl has always been good in conversations, but Himari tells her that even though she has trouble with some people, she always remembers to try to respect them when they talk. This makes Akane realize that she hasn't been respecting Saito and has been treating him too harshly as of late. During lunch, Saito sits with Shizi, who suggests getting a divorce if getting along with Akane is too difficult. However, Saito says the marriage has to work in order for him to become CEO. Deciding to teach him a lesson on how to become an effective leader, she tells him that it's important to learn about people and can start with Akane. She tells him that it might be easier to give in to her demands sometimes so they can get along. Taking her advice to heart, Saito considers it but is unsure how to implement it. Returning home, Saito is greeted by Akane, who seems unusually serious. Deciding that talking to her about their relationship is a bad idea, for now he tries to escape to his study. He is surprised when Akane gently grabs his sleeve and asks if they can talk about their marriage. They sit at the dining table and agree that they need to get along in order to live comfortably. They decide to establish house rules so they can respect each other's wishes without feeling bad about things. Despite seeing that cleaning every day is inefficient, Saito remembers Shizi's words about allowing Akane to win once in a while, so he offers to help with chores like laundry and requests permission to touch her when necessary given their shared bed, making it difficult for their bodies not to touch. Embarrassed but understanding, Akane agrees, adding that he must use headphones while playing video games. Saito observes her and realizes that Akane might just be scared of horror games, and that might have been the real reason why she made a huge fuss about it the other day. Saito adds that they should thank each other since he read somewhere that showing gratitude is known for improving relationships. Akane also asks Saito to acknowledge her cooking. Saito explains that calling her food normal is the highest compliment he can give, leaving Akane confused. Saito tells her that explaining his reasoning will take too long, so she decides to leave it at that. That evening, Akane thanked Himari for her advice and recounted the 5-hour conversation she had with Saito, still avoiding mentioning his name. At bedtime, Akane assumes Saito will touch her, so she spreads herself on the bed. When Saito enters, he is shocked by Akane's position, so he reassures her that he won't touch her on purpose. The next day, Saito surprises Akane by buying her favorite cake as a peace offering. Akane is confused about how he knows which cake to buy, and Saito said he remembers her writing it down in school during an event. Touched by the gesture, Akane remembers their agreement, thanks him, and eagerly serves dinner. Saito notices the effort Akane put into dinner and takes a bite of her food, pleased with the flavors. He finally tells her it tastes good, earning him an honest smile from Akane, which shocks him since he's never seen Akane smile at him before. As they wash dishes that evening, Saito realizes that he never notices how attractive Akane is since she is always angry at him. Seeing this new side of Akane makes him appreciate her more. One day as Saito is busy reading a book, Akane comes with a movie CD in her hand, so he thinks she wants him to leave, but she surprises him by inviting him to see it together. She praises the cat movie, which is 24 hours long, but since he can't spare his whole day for just a stupid movie, Saito tries to make an excuse, but luckily it also has a shorter version of 3 hours, which he offers to watch instead. She is very excited to see her favorite movie with him, and she soon gets fully immersed in it, but he can't help but doze off as he finds it very boring. Luckily, just as it is about to end, he wakes up mumbling random things and he smoothly pretends to have seen the whole movie. Since she had a great time watching the highlights, she suggests they should one day watch the longer version as well, but for now, she wants to thank him by watching his favorite movie. However, he has no interest in movies as he is more of a video games person. Staying true to their opposite character, she mentions she has rarely played a game before, as she finds them very boring. After some persuasion, she agrees to play together and he soon teaches her how to play. She is a natural as within no time she gets a hang of it and even manages to defeat him. This moment brings him immense joy and he can't believe he is having so much fun with the same person, whom he used to consider as his lifelong enemy. At night, Saito notices the blanket has slipped off Akane, so he carefully sets it, but she isn't sleeping. She thanked him for the wonderful day they had. He appreciates her kind words and offers to buy a game of her choice whenever they go shopping together, but she politely tells him to call her by her first name because they are married now. He blushes while using her name, so she asks if he wants to talk about something, but he gets awkward and says it's nothing. The next day at school, while Saito is once again sleeping at his desk, his eraser accidentally falls off, so Akane picks it up for him, but Himari sees her and wonders if they had a fight because they are no longer arguing like they used to, which makes her think Akane must hate talking to him. When Akane tells her it is not like that, Himari wonders if they have suddenly become friends instead, but it shocks Akane, who awkwardly defends herself that she could never become friends with an irresponsible person like Saito. Himari finds it weird because she can't remember Akane ever calling him by his first name. Akane feels embarrassed, and since she has no other answer, she rushes out of the class saying she's going home and they will meet tomorrow. Later, Saito visits the library to read a book on communication skills, but Shise comes from behind and pranks him by covering his eyes. She wonders if he can guess her identity, and surprisingly, he quickly identifies her because only she can do such a prank. She notices the communication skills book in his hands, which surprises her because she never thought he would bother to improve himself, but he explains it is to help him improve his relationship with Akane. She wonders if he learned anything new from it, and he says yes. He read some great points on how to enhance solidarity with others through collaboration. After that, Saito stops Akane as he wishes to talk to her, but she freaks out as she had specifically told him not to talk to her in school as it may risk revealing their secret marriage. He asks her if she has any plans with friends after school because he wants to go shopping with her. She misunderstands him and asks if he's asking her for a date, so he drags her to a nearby classroom and explains that it isn't a date. He makes a silly excuse that it will be a hassle to carry all the bags alone, and since they live together, they should buy groceries together. They both gaslight themselves into thinking that it's not a big deal if they go shopping. After their classes, just as Akane is about to leave, Himari stops her because her work shift got canceled, so she thinks they should walk together, and they can even enjoy Akane's favorite strawberry bread. Akane is tempted by the offer, but she turns her down as she already has plans with a friend. Himari wonders if she is meeting her new friend, whom she had told her about because she would also like to meet him, but Akane says they have already met, which shocks Himari because the only boy she can think of is Saito, as they both know him. Akane apologizes and rushes out from there, but on her way, she accidentally steps on Shisei, who is lying on the floor as part of her plan to stop Akane. She asks Akane about her deal with her cousin, and Akane is unable to understand what she means. Since she's getting late, Akane leaves their conversation unfinished and runs away. Akane arrives at their meeting point before Saito and thinks about why she told Shisei that she had important work. She again reassures herself that they are not going on a date, and soon Saito also arrives there. He asks her where they should go, and she suggests going to a nearby supermarket. The young couple starts shopping and Saito picks up some eggs, but she gets angry with him and tells him to always compare the prices because the store also has cheaper eggs and they are basically the same. After that, she spots a limited time offer on meat, so she wishes to buy some for their house, but she is unable to pass through the crowd as everyone wants to get the discount. Saito wants to try his luck, but he faces the same results and they both lie on the floor. She is hopeful that although they lost, they will be successful next time, but he has no motivation left to ever try again. She tells him it's the survival of the fittest and he must come with her, so he agrees to try again one day. While returning from the store, Saito praises her that she is very resilient and she will make a decent wife. She is happy to hear it, but she corrects him that she is already married. At night, Akane suddenly wakes up and she notices Saito's hand slowly coming towards her, which freaks her out as she thinks he is trying to take advantage of her. He tries to explain that she was the one who came into his personal space and he was just observing her as she looked very cute while sleeping. She is flattered by his response and allows him to look at her while she sleeps. The next morning, they wake up still blushing from the awkward encounter last night, and Akane goes to prepare breakfast for them, but she gets lost in thoughts and accidentally burns their breakfast. Saito hears her scream and comes to help her, but he is not wearing his shirt, which makes her feel a bit awkward, however, and he feels is perfectly normal. On their way to school, as they are still hungry, he buys some strawberry bread, which they both share. However, Himari suddenly arrives there and she wonders what they are doing together, so Akane makes an excuse that he was stalking her, and they should call the police. Himari is surprised that they are eating the same food, so Akane answers that she couldn't eat the whole thing, so she throws the leftover, which he picks up from the footpath. He tries to defend himself while Himari ignores him and tells Akane to stop wasting food. Later, Saito finds Akane working hard for their upcoming quiz, which surprises him because he never has to put any effort as he has a photographic memory and it's hard for him to forget anything taught in class. He makes her a sandwich, which surprises him and she wonders why he did that, but when she tastes it, she finds it delicious. She decides to appreciate his sandwich by putting in all her effort and getting the best grades on the quiz. In the next few days, whenever she studies, he makes her sandwiches, which she appreciates, but the lack of sleep takes a toll on her health, and one day she collapses in school. Luckily, Himari is there to help her, and she asks if Akane is alright, so she blames it on her lack of sleep due to exam preparation. Himari advises her to keep a balance between studies and health, but Akane doesn't care about her body as long as she gets the top score. Himari accidentally says that despite all her efforts, Saito will once again get the first position, which makes Akane angry as she's hopeful of her victory, even if it takes her centuries. Himari reminds her that they will soon graduate from there, so she plans to study at the same university as him. Akane rejects the idea because it would suggest she has a crush on him. Later, Saito comes to give Akane her sandwich, but he finds her sleeping on her study desk. He soon realizes that she has a high fever, as she is sweating a lot, so he takes her to their bed and uses a damp cloth to lower her body temperature. He thinks this must be the reason why she collapsed at school, but she finally reveals her lifelong dream of becoming a doctor, and for that, she can't slack off on hard work. She admits that her parents couldn't afford the expensive medical colleges, so the only reason she agreed to marry Saito was because her grandmother promised to pay all her expenses in exchange for that. Saito is taken aback by this revelation, and she continues saying that no matter how hard she studied, she could never beat him even though he hardly ever studies. He tries to make her feel better by explaining that talent varies from person to person. So she admits that she hates him because of his God-given ability to memorize everything, but she also admires him. It shocks Saito, while Akane also soon realizes what she just said, so she feels embarrassed and tells him to forget about it because she hates him. After a while, Saito rechecks her temperature and it fails to go down, so he thinks they should call an ambulance, but Akane insists she's fine and someone more serious might need the ambulance, and if they get occupied, that person might die. He tries calling it anyway, but unfortunately, his call is unable to connect, so he decides to do something about it as he can't let her die like this. He picks her up, which shocks her, and he starts rushing towards the hospital. Akane is surprised by his dedication to help her, and she never thought he was strong enough to carry her so easily. She thinks he will make fun of her because of her dream, but he believes with hard work and dedication, she can achieve anything. He looks back on the recent few days and thinks that although they were forced to marry each other, he is now sure that they will have a happy ending someday. However, it turns out to be just an ordinary fever, and she is back to normal in a few days. One day, as Saito is sleeping in his bed, Akane comes to wake him up because he is getting late for school. He feels lazy and wants to continue sleeping, so she threatens to hit him with the same pan she just used for frying the eggs. Later, as she is complaining about his lack of hygiene and only being good at studies, he teases her about her looking up to him, which makes her very embarrassed, and she blames it on her fever. Saito once again gets the top score in the quiz, and Himari comes to congratulate him, which makes him feel very good, and he jokingly tells her to worship him. However, he gets uncomfortable when she gets too close to him, so she realizes like other boys, he also fails to resist her huge personality. Akane watches them from a distance, and when Himari leaves, she comes furiously towards him and tells him that he shouldn't get too close to other girls because he's a married man now. On their way to the school, Akane tells Saito to stop, but he thinks she will hurt him, so he refuses to stop. However, it turns out that she just wanted to give him his lunch, which he had forgotten at home. She thinks he intentionally left it at home as he doesn't like her cooking, but he praises it, which makes her blush. She thanks him for the compliment and tells him to finish it completely because it takes a lot of time and effort to cook food. During their recess, as Saito is about to eat his lunch, Shisei interrupts him as she wants him to share his lunch with her. He knows she must have already eaten her breakfast, and she admits she had 3 bowls of rice, which he notes is more than what he gets to eat. She believes that is a separate matter as she presently wants to try his wife's cooking. Since their whole class finds her cute, they all gather around them and try to convince Saito to allow her to share his food with her. He gives in to the pressure and tells her to only have a spoon, but when he opens the box, Himari notices his lunch is the same as Akane's. They all start speculating whether they are dating, and Akane gets flustered to hear this. She as well as Saito try to deny it, but everyone keeps teasing them. While they are busy defending themselves, Shisei finishes his entire lunch, which makes him shocked because he only allowed her 1 bite, but she says she ate it all in 1 bite, and you should be thanking her as she took care of all the evidence. She is right as everyone had already gone back to their seats, but he asks if she ate it just for that reason, so she admits she wanted to taste it as well. She worries about her cousin, so she asks him if he is doing all right at his new home, and he silently replies in affirmative by smiling and gently caressing her hair. Later, as Saito is walking into the school, Himari jumps in front of him, which surprises him. She wishes to confirm whether his lunch was really made by Akane, so he lies that they both bought frozen food and Akane must have copied him. Without any hesitation, she directly asks if he and Akane are dating, and he denies it, which makes her relaxed. She assures him that she will do her part in clearing up the rumor, while Shisei silently observes them from a distance. At night, Akane suddenly wakes up screaming as she sees a small dark figure in their room. She tells Saito about the ghost, but since he can't see anything, he tells her to return to sleep. She keeps disturbing him, and since he has no other option, he gets up and asks what she wants him to do, but there is suddenly a faint noise, so she jumps and clings to him. He offers to go and check it, but she feels scared and asks him to give her company. Later, as he is sitting in a room, she comes there and sits in the corner, shivering in fear. She tells him that they must move out as their place is haunted. He asks her to bring any proof, such as pictures or videos, but she starts crying as it's too dangerous, and it would risk her safety. She brings her stuff and starts studying there, so he asks her about it, and she makes an excuse that she is there to protect him, in case he gets attacked by the ghost. He mentions he will be fine and she should return to her room. However, she refuses to leave as she has marked that territory like a wild cat. She keeps following him, and even when he goes to the restroom, she starts banging on the door, asking him to keep it open. Later, when she needs to take a bath, she again gets scared and asks him to come with her. While Others wants to turn her down, he agrees to accompany her for one day and silently sits next to the door. After every few minutes, she confirms his presence to reassure her, and when he doesn't respond, she panics and rushes out without wearing anything, so he tells her to cover herself. The following day at school, Shisei notices Saito is a bit upset, and she wonders if something happened with Akane, which surprises him how she knew that, so she reveals it's because of the way he sounds. He tells her about their issue at home that Akane thinks their house is haunted, so she agrees to help him investigate it. Shisei then tells Akane that she knows about her marriage to Saito, which freaks them out, so they quickly take her to an empty classroom, where no one can hear their conversation. Akane thinks Saito leaked their secret, as only they know about it in their whole school, but he tells her it wasn't him, as she used her brilliant mind to figure out the whole thing on her own. Shisei confirms that he is telling the truth, so Akane realizes that it shouldn't be surprising for her that his cousin knows about their marriage. She apologizes to Shisei because they couldn't tell her about it, but she changes the conversation and asks about the ghost in her house. Akane notes Saito doesn't believe her, but Shisei confirms her suspicion that their house has evil spirits, and if they are not exorcised, Akane's grades will suffer a lot. Akane feels scared after hearing this and asks her for help, so Shisei notes they must invite her to their house and have complete faith in her abilities. They soon arrive outside the house, where she tells them that she can sense several evil spirits from inside and she fears it will soon be destroyed. It scares them, and Akane wonders if they should burn it, but Shisei reassures her that she will take care of the evil spirits. She notes she will begin her investigation by trying to find the root cause of the problem, and she starts with Saito's study room, which he mostly uses for reading. She thinks he must be hiding his lewd books in there because in the past, whenever she tried to see what he was reading, he always used to hide it. Akane warns him that such material is not allowed in their house, and if they find any such material, she will confiscate it. However, as Shisei goes through the room, she only finds his underwear, which makes Akane embarrassed, but Shisei starts playing with it, so Saito grabs it from her. After that, it's Akane's study room's turn, but she notes there aren't any ghosts there. However, Shisei sees right through her plan that she wants to protect her privacy. Akane then takes her to their bedroom where she sees the ghost, and she describes the whole scene of how she saw the ghost, which resembled a little kid. After hearing the detailed description, Shisei tells them that she has discovered the ghost's identity, which impresses them both, and they are eager to hear who it is. Shisei admits that she is the ghost, which leaves them shocked. So she explains that she got their house's keys from Grandpa, and for the past few days, she has been visiting their house. They wonder why she came in secret, so she tells them that she didn't want to disturb their romance, which leaves them embarrassed. She wishes to eat dinner at their house, and although Akane is relieved that there is no ghost there, she refuses to cook her food. Shisei wins her over by praising her cooking skills, as she has eaten the lunch she prepared for Saito. Later, while they are eating, Shisei gets some rice on her face, so Saito, being the gentleman he is, cleans it for her, but it makes Akane jealous as she thinks they are too close. Later, they play video games and Shisei sits on Saito's lap, appreciating his gameplay, which again makes Akane jealous as she thinks they are enjoying it a bit too much. Saito notices her looking at him and asks if everything is alright because she resembles a demon when she is angry, but it only makes her angrier. After that, Saito leaves to take a bath, but surprisingly Shisei offers to accompany him, which freaks out Akane because they are basically the same age. Shisei notes that she always takes a bath with him, but Akane furiously tells them to take a bath one by one, and seeing her anger, they both obediently follow her command. After that, as Saito peacefully reads his book in bed, Akane comes and asks about Shisei, so he tells her that she is gaming and he has already prepared a bed for her. Akane feels relieved as they finally have some space to talk alone, and he wonders if there is something important she wants to discuss with him. She says she has a few complaints for him, which she couldn't have discussed in Shisei's presence, so he places his book away and gets ready to hear her lecture. She expresses her disappointment as he did not tell her about buying the cat game because she wished to play it first. He thinks it would have been evil if she planned to practice before him so she could destroy him, but she just wanted to play it before Shisei. While uttering these words, even she is unsure why she wanted that, so she mocks his intelligence and says since he is so smart, he should know the reason, which leads to a silly argument between the couple. Once she is done with her rant, she feels relieved and admits that she should do this every day because it takes a huge burden off her chest, but he thinks she is treating him like a sandbag. He wonders if she is done with her complaints, but she still has one left. She hesitantly brings up Shisei's name again, so he apologizes that he invited her to stay the night with them. However, she only wanted to tell him that he is pampering her a lot, but he feels she is a silly young girl who needs extra attention. As they are busy in their conversation, she suddenly feels he touched her under the blanket, but he notes he would never touch such a dangerous person like her. He also feels like she touched him, but it turns out to be Shisei, who was hiding in their blanket, listening to their conversation about her. Shisei says she sleeps with him every time he comes over, but he disagrees as it only happens when she wants to. Shisei tells Akane that ever since she was a kid, she feels calm when she hugs Saito, so she thinks it's unfair that Akane is always with him. But Akane explains that she is not doing it because she wants to, she is simply following the conditions set by their grandparents for their marriage. Shisei makes them feel even more awkward by saying if they want to do the deed, she will sleep on the floor, but Akane strongly rejects any such relationship between them and asks her to sleep with them. After a while, as Saito falls asleep, Shisei faces Akane and notes that Saito is a bit slow, so she needs to clearly express her feelings, otherwise he would never understand them. She tells Akane that she is concerned for her cousin's happiness, whether he would be able to live a peaceful life with her, but after spending some time at their house, she is relieved. Akane is clueless about what to answer, so Shisei just cuddles with Saito, while Akane reminds her to keep their distance and have some shame. In the past, Himari had always wanted to be close to Akane. Even when Akane is clearly not interested in becoming her friend, Himari simply brushed it off and continued talking to her. She was persistent, always finding ways to engage Akane in conversation. Eventually, she even managed to convince Akane to hang out with her by promising her a delicious strawberry parfait. Now the two were sitting in a cafe talking. Himari questions Akane's feelings for Saito, but Akane quickly denies any feelings for him. Gathering her courage, Himari admits that she actually has a crush on Saito. Akane is stunned, unable to comprehend how someone like Himari could fall for someone like Saito. Himari, eager to defend her love for Saito, starts listing Saito's good qualities. She mentions that he is dependable since he can act calmly when everyone else is panicked. Akane suddenly remembers a time when Saito had helped her by caring for her out of concern. Himari continues listing Saito's positive traits such as his confidence and his hidden kindness, since he looks like the type of person to be concerned over others, but he has checked on her when nobody else does when she feels down. Himari decides to ask for Akane's help to get closer to Saito since Akane and Saito seem to have a close bond despite their constant arguments. Though Akane hesitates, she agrees to help her. Himari suggests that Akane list down things she knows about Saito, so she'll learn about him more. The question stumps Akane. For the first time, she realizes that despite living under the same roof as Saito, she actually knows almost nothing about her husband. Back at home, Saito is peacefully minding his own business, engrossed in a book. However, he soon notices Akane staring at him intently while gripping a pen and notepad. Akane's odd behavior continues into the evening. Saito catches her lurking outside his window, clearly trying to spy on him. During dinner, she takes it a step further by recording a video of him as he eats. Saito grows increasingly uneasy and finally demands an explanation. Out of nowhere, she asks him for his type of girl and the type of food he likes. Seeing no harm in answering any of the questions, he answers that he doesn't particularly like any type of girl, but really loves to eat steak and sushi. Akane raises an eyebrow at his expensive taste, but becomes slightly disgusted upon learning that he prefers his steak rare. In her opinion, rare is just raw, no matter how much Saito argues otherwise. The next morning, Akane reports her findings to Himari. Shikun exaggerates, telling Himari that Saito likes his meat raw. Himari, instead of being repulsed, finds this wild side of Saito oddly charming. Akane had expected at least a little disgust, but instead, her friends seem even more smitten. Himari explains that learning more about Saito makes her feel closer to him. Seeing how eager Himari is, she tells Himari that Saito enjoys video games and reading, even mentioning that he likes to read a little before bed. Himari, surprised, asks how Akane knows his bedtime routine. Akane quickly covers her slip-up, claiming that Saito had talked about it with Shisei. Curious, Himari then asks if Akane knows what specific games Saito plays. Without thinking, Akane confirms that he enjoys horror games, not realizing she gave away a graphic description of the games he plays and how he plays them. After school, Saito and Akane discuss dinner plans in the kitchen. Saito is visibly disappointed to hear that fish is on the menu instead of steak. He had hoped that after all her questions about his favorite food yesterday, Akane would prepare steak for him. Feeling oddly responsible for the misunderstanding, Akane decides to cook steak herself. She and Saito head out to buy the necessary ingredients so they can prepare the meal. When they return home, Akane prepares a steak dinner for them to enjoy, eagerly waiting for Saito to give his feedback on her food. Saito nervously takes a bite and is pleasantly surprised by how good it tastes. He even compliments Akane on her cooking, which brings her to tears since he finally acknowledges that her food is good. Saito remarks that he wants Akane to make this exact meal for him every day. Akane, caught off guard, briefly thinks he's proposing. Saito quickly corrects her, reminding her that they're technically already married. Still, Akane is over the clouds with his compliment, vowing he can look forward to delicious meals every day. Saito notices their closeness and notes that Akane is leaning a bit provocatively. The next day, Himari approaches Saito and with feigned casualness, asks about his type of girl. He clarifies that he doesn't believe people fall into simple types. Learning to love the person for who they are as a whole is important if he decides to get into a relationship. Himari is amazed by his perspective, though she tries to hide it. Instead, she grumbles about how guys keep confessing to her, believing they only like her for her boobs over her true self. Saito tells her it must be tough being pretty. Himari takes it as a compliment. Then, out of nowhere, she blurts out a sudden confession. But before Saito can react, she quickly laughs it off as a joke and dashes to her seat. Saito, however, is just as flustered. Even Shisei notices the slight blush creeping onto his face as she reveals herself from just under him the whole conversation. Later at home, while Saito is absorbed in his video games, Akane sneaks into his study, hoping to find something useful about him that she can report to Himari. As she stoops around, she stumbles upon a notebook labeled Secret and tries to read it. Before she can open it, Saito suddenly appears in the doorway, catching her red-handed. Akane immediately shifts the blame onto him, accusing him of purposely leaving a suspicious notebook out to lure her in. Shifting gears to cover her suspicious actions, Akane decides to ask him for book recommendations instead. Saito recommends a history book, stating that its charm lies in how unexpectedly funny it is. When she tells Himari about it, Himari attempts to read the book as well but quickly gives up, finding it far too difficult to understand. Akane apologizes for not asking Saito to recommend a simpler book, but Himari reassures her that it is fine since now she has the perfect topic to talk about with Saito. Akane watches from the doorway. Jealousy creeps up on her, however. She doesn't understand why she is feeling so strongly against them. Inside, Saito and Himari chat easily. He thanks her for always keeping his arguments with Akane from escalating. Himari laughs but then reveals that Akane is the one who suggested the book. Saito furrows his brow, confused by Akane's actions. Himari shifts the conversation and recalls how Akane once saved her from bullies. Because of her naturally blonde hair, people treat her differently. Some mock her, but Akane never cares about their opinions. She stayed by Himari's side despite the harsh judgment. Saito listens closely before complimenting Himari's hair, saying it suits her. She smiles, remembering how Akane once said the same thing. That reassurance gave her confidence, and the bullying eventually stopped. Outside, Shisei catches Akane peeking into the room. She makes a comment that Himari and Saito are perfect for each other since Himari has always loved Saito from their freshman days. She wonders out loud if Akane is against the idea of them getting together despite how much better off Saito will be with Himari by his side. Later in the day, Himari hugs Akane tightly. Now she can talk to Saito whenever she wants. She also excitedly shares that Saito complimented her. As a thank you, she promises Akane some strawberry tarts, and they plan to chat more over at Akane's place. Akane's excitement over the tarts quickly fades when she realizes she no longer lives in her old home. Inviting Himari over would be difficult. So she tries to convince Himari that she cannot have her over since she now lives in a barrel that she had cut in half. Himari frowns, suspecting that Akane doesn't want her to visit considering Shisei had previously bragged about visiting Akane's house. Feeling pressured, Akane reluctantly agrees to have Himari over soon. She tells Saito about the visit, reminding him it's absolutely important for him to be as scarce as possible. She devises a plan to hide his things and he has to stay in his study for the duration of Himari's visit. However, before she can even start putting away his things, the doorbell rings, signaling Himari's arrival. Akane suddenly panics, lost at how to hide Saito. Saito urges Akane to keep Himari distracted while he tidies up, but before he can finish, Akane welcomes Himari inside. With no time to hide, he takes cover in the living room while the girls chat in the kitchen over tea and strawberry tarts. As they talk, Himari asks if she can invite Saito on a date. Akane hesitates, unsure why Himari is asking her permission. Himari still suspects Akane might have a crush on Saito. She assures Akane that if that's the case, she will back off because their friendship matters more. Akane quickly dismisses the idea, insisting she has no feelings for Saito. Overhearing the conversation, Saito suddenly feels a pang of disappointment that his own wife had just admitted to disliking him. The next day, Himari gathers her courage and confesses to Saito, asking him on a date. To her delight, Saito agrees. Outside the classroom, Akane and Shisei eavesdrop. Shisei questions if Akane is really okay with it, reminding her that Saito is technically being unfaithful. She also points out that Akane clearly has feelings for him and should do something if it bothers her. But Akane retains her composure, deciding this is for the best since she and Saito are only married in name. That evening during dinner, Saito casually mentions Himari's confession and their upcoming date. Akane congratulates him but demands to know why he is bringing it up. Saito reminds her of their marriage and wants to be sure if it is really okay. Frustrated, Akane snaps that they were forced into marriage so he can date whoever he wants since it doesn't concern her. The next day, as Saito prepares to leave, he hesitates and asks again if Akane is sure about the date. She feigns indifference, but as he turns to go, she suddenly stops him by hugging him from behind. Admitting her feelings at last, she confesses that she doesn't want to see him with another girl. Even if their marriage is forced, she feels jealous. Saito smiles and tells her that he already turned down the date. He insists they go shopping together, even promising to buy her whatever she wants as an apology for tricking her. He even adds that they should buy rings so she wouldn't get jealous anymore, making her flustered at the idea of having matching jewelry. Taking her hand, Saito eagerly leads her to their date. The next day, Himari cheerfully chats with Saito. Despite being rejected, she remains optimistic, saying she can always try again. She tells him that persistence has always been her strong point since that's how she won over Akane's friendship. Shise, who was standing near them, says that Himari needs to get her approval first, bluntly stating that Saito will only date girls she approves of. Meanwhile, from a distance, Akane watches their exchange. Determination fills her as she quietly vows not to lose Saito to anyone.